So, like I said, we are going to talk about how an organization can look good, can look like they're doing good on the outside, but essentially they're not doing well on the inside. And if you're catching me live, hashtag live. If you're catching the replay, hashtag replay. I have two screens going, so if you see me looking away, that's because I have Facebook on this side. Okay. So, everyone, my name is Stacy. I'm a fractional COO, that's a Chief Operating Officer, and Operations Strategist, and the person that people call when everything behind the scenes is falling apart, but no one wants to say it out loud. Okay, so my lives usually they do not include any sorts of fluff or anything that we don't need to talk about. If you have any questions, I usually answer it live for you. This is for nonprofit leaders and company leaders who are tired of looking successful on paper, but they're quietly panicking behind closed doors, which is important because just because everything looks good on paper and to the outside world does not mean everything's okay inside, right? Because what that translates to is that you may have the funding, the media features like CBS or whomever is your local newscast crew member wants to interview you and share news about you, right? And you have the partnerships, but the back end of your company or organization looks like a hot mess. Like there's no onboarding system, you're having trouble with your staff. It's like the only time you guys have it together is when people are looking, but that's not okay. So I always say this with love and from my heart because I've been there and I've worked in the nonprofit industry and I am an entrepreneur, right? And I work with organizations every day who are holding it together with duct tape and good intentions, which is not enough. So today we're going to talk about the difference between real growth and disorganized, like a better terms, exhaustion, right? What's really causing your burnout. Um, and it's not really the amount of people on your team, and that's something I want to bring up because sometimes people start thinking, "Oh, we don't have enough people on our team." No, it's not about the amount of people you have on your team. If you can fix the structure, the infrastructure of the organization, the systems, and the operation, it can be a good thing. So, the other thing we're going to talk about is why most infrastructure issues are operational issues, right? And how to actually fix it without throwing money at the wrong thing. Because wasting money is something that organizations and companies tend to do, not purposely, right? I'm not gonna say it's purposely. If they're doing it on purpose, that's none of my business. Okay. So, and we're gonna talk about how to fix it. But I'm also going to show you 3 ways to work with me today. We'll talk about it later. There is a $47 system setup guide where you learn how to set up dashboards on Monday.com, Asana, and Airtable, the precision strategy session, and the VIP operations intensive. So we have quite a few things to talk about. So we're gonna get into it because yeah, I just want to make sure it's under an hour today. I can talk if given the opportunity. So let's try to keep this on track. So the first thing that I want to say out loud and not in writing, because I know some of you look and read my posts. Your organization can look successful, but it's barely holding on. Okay. So a real life scenario, let's just, throw this in the air. You got a $250,000 grant. Sounds amazing, right? You got the money you wanted. You posted about it. Your board is proud. Your team is proud. You're excited that you're going to be able to pay people on time. It got picked up in the local news story that you're going to be doing this work and you have new partnerships and more partners are looking to work with you from the visibility you're gathering. But behind the scenes, what's happening is your program tracker is non-existent or you haven't updated in weeks. So you're not able to track the impact you're making with your programs, right? You're not sure if the last reimbursement report got submitted, because then a lot of grants work on a reimbursement schedule where you spend money first and then you submit a financial report, and they reimburse the money. So imagine having to go to sleep and wake up and not remembering if you submitted your last reimbursement report. That means you're not getting paid on time, you're not getting the money on time. So all of these things are stressful, but they have to do with the back end, right? And also, you onboard two new staff because you got all that money, but they still don't have clear job descriptions, right? They're not able to do their jobs properly because that stuff that doesn't exist. You don't know what you need to have them do. You don't know what they need to focus on, or you're giving them all the work because you just don't know. And the other thing, your inbox is full of invoice that needs approval that no one owns. No one knows who's supposed to approve this or who did this work or whatnot, where this invoice came from, what it's for. So all of these things are things that may be happening behind the scenes for your organization or company that are causing certain delays or mishaps to happen, right? So that's what I called like having like a level of disorganized exhaustion. Because sometimes we're tired, but it was a productive day. But sometimes we feel tired because just the day was a hot mess, right? Everything was so disorganized. You feel like you feel discombobulated at the end of the day, and that like everything that you're doing is for naught. Okay, because you feel like you're working harder than ever, but nothing is ever streamlined, which is a big problem, right? You're stuck in a loop of reacting, patching, surviving, reacting, patching, surviving. It's like a constant replay for you and your company or organization that you're not able to escape because that's all you know how to do. You have no breathing room, you have no clarity, you have no actual plan in place to follow. And that is not real growth, right? That is basically um, a very salty soup that has a name badge, right? That's chaos with a name badge. And that's the place you're trying to get out of. Because if you are in that position where nothing makes sense, there's no level of clarity, there's no breathing room, you feel constantly overwhelmed by the amount of work that exists, that's because there's a lack of systems in place to help with your operation, right? So I know I talked about how a lot of organizations are duct taping it because of this operational gap or systems issue, but we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. Okay. So duct taping, when I say duct taping, what your operations, what it really means for a lot of organizations is that they're using, it can what it can look like. I'm just going to give you examples of what that looks like for some organizations. Like some organizations are basically using email threads as their project management system. Did we do this? Let's look at the email thread. No, they didn't, right? So that's a big no-no. That is not a way to track progress of what's happening within your project. The email threads is not it. Usually people use email threads to find evidence or data that support whatever they're saying. It should not be the way that you manage or your projects or like that should not be a system that exists for your organization or company. The other way is that you keep onboarding steps in someone's head. Okay, what's next? What should this person know? Oh, I'm not sure. Let's ask Bob. Bob, what should this person do next? That's not okay. That's another example of duct taping for me, right? Or the other thing would be copying and pasting old grant reports because the data isn't tracked anywhere. Listen, when I say like I have experience with a lot of these things, I'm telling you I know. I see like so many organizations that I work with that tell me, oh, you can just copy and paste the old grant proposal and just get that. That's not okay. Are we tracking the data? Is the data being tracked anywhere where you can update the data? Because that's supposed to impact or drive the efforts that you're making. So all of these things are examples of duct taping or approving things on text message. Like you're an organization or a company, you should have a system for approvals, and text message is not it. If you approve something via text message, you need to have another way to confirm, like send an email to the person, always follow up. Like I know if I have phone conversations or text conversations with staff, I always send a follow-up email. Hey, XYZ, based on our prior conversation, I just wanted to confirm that this was approved. Go ahead and do this and fill out the report XYZ. Like confirm it that way. And if you have a tracking system for it, make sure it is on there as well. Because anybody that comes after that's asking who approved this, right? You should be able to know who approved it. It's just, it doesn't make sense only to have it in text message. And the other way that I see organization duct taping is telling people just check in with Bob, right? Because no one knows where anything is stored. Bob has been here the longest time. Check in with Bob. No, 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 not okay. Do you have an SOP where this person can read and find this information? Because Bob's head is not where it should be. We see how things happen like all of the sudden and how things can be very, we never know what's going to happen. So it's not safe that Bob is the only person that knows it. So it's in your best interest as a growth stage organization or company to have systems in place to support the team having access to pieces of information, right? Because one thing I'm going to say, if it sounds familiar or if that's something that exists within your organization or company, please, please remember I'm not judging. I'm just saying it's fixable because I've been there. I know it's fixable. You just have to get to center, like return to center and realize like what needs to be fixed and how are we going to fix this? Because at the end of the day, it's often not a capacity problem like a lot of companies or organization thinks. It's an operations problem because I've seen teams of three doing work of organizations that are like $1 million to $10 million, right? It is possible if your operations are up to par. Okay, and the part that people get wrong is that they only think and focus on capacity, thinking it's only a capacity that's the problem. Sometimes capacity is a problem, but you have to like audit your organization to figure out what the issue is. Is it an operations gap or is it a capacity gap that exists? Because like just focusing on capacity and where you're only asking yourself, oh, if we just had one other person on the team, yeah, it would be nice, but are you doing the work you're supposed to be doing or work that you're creating because it sounds good? Does it even align with the mission? Right? Or if we just got more money, we could do this. Okay, the money you have, what can it actually do? Do you even have the capacity to get more money? If you don't, you need to fix your operations to work with what you got. A lot of people refuse to work with what they have and they want more and they're not ready to receive, which is a problem. Okay? So you have to get back to the drawing board, evaluate, audit whatever's going on, and figure out what the real issue is. Is it a capacity problem or is it an operations problem? The organizations that are not growth stage organization, that do not have staff, do not make money, do not have any paid staff, this is not for you. Okay, so when I'm saying it, this is not for you. Okay, because if you don't have the funding and you don't have the team, you have other things to work on, and it's not this, okay? Like you need to work on these things, and you have smaller tools to help you, like the system setup guide. That's $47, and the link is in my in my comments or my bio, and you can or you can DM me to get that because what it does, if you're a smaller or larger organization and you need to start setting up your dashboards on Monday.com, Airtable, or Asana, you can definitely get the systems setup guide for $47 and get to work. Okay. Because capacity without clarity equals burnout. And that oftentimes is an operations problem. Okay. So if you're not familiar with what operations is, it's basically the internal day-to-day workflows, processes, and systems that keep your organization or company running, right? So if no one knows who does what, when it's due, or how it connects to your outcomes, you don't have an operations issue coming. It's already there. You already have one. You already have a problem. And that's what's slowing your company or organization down. So definitely get the system setup guide. I'll put that in the comments of this live since we're on Facebook right now. I'll put the link before, because that actually is not on my Front facing stands for. Okay. So I just put it in the comments. Now the other term I brought up that I want to make sure to go over a little bit is systems. Because so many people don't understand what the term stands for or why it's important to the operations of your company or an organization. So let's define it while we're here. Systems, I repeat this over and over again, but it's the repeatable steps, no pun intended. Repeatable steps, automations, tools, and frameworks, right? That you use to execute your operations effectively. So systems will be the tools, the steps, the automations, frameworks that you have for your operations, right? So what that would include, it's like the task management system. So if you're looking at something like Monday.com to manage the task or Airtable, whatever it is, that would be a system. Reporting systems. How do you report? Are you using, oh my God, Qualtrics for reporting? Are you using Google Forms? What are you using for reporting, right? The program delivery workflows. What's the workflow to deliver your program? Do you have one in place when this person calls our center? They are referred to a case manager, and the case manager asks these questions. Here's the script. So the workflow of what happens, what journey does this person take with this particular program being delivered? And the next example of a system is communication and meetings cadence, right? How often are you having these meetings? How do you guys communicate? What's the system for that? Do you guys use Slack for communication, right? Do you guys meet once a week at the beginning of the week to set the tone and at the end of the week for a shorter period of time to check in and see what they were able to complete or that accountability check, right? Other systems or tools can be CRMs. So depending on what you're using, is it ClickUp, is it Dubsado, Honeybook, whatever it is, right? Monday.com, Airtable, all of these are tools and systems you can use. So systems are what allow you to stop managing the hot mess that you have, the chaos that you have, and start leading intentionally. Because once you start focusing on having the right systems for where your organization is at and where it's trying to go, then your operations can run a little bit smoother. So that's why it's very important with growing their operations to have systems that support it. Because I've seen organizations that work on getting systems that everybody say are nice. Oh, we're going to get a little green light. It's free. Do you need it? Okay. Do you need it? Because that's another question I have for a lot of organization. You're getting all these systems and paying for it. Do you need it? What do you need? You need to have your systems and operations audited to figure out what you need and don't need, because you might not even need that. Because then you're looking at software for grants. How often are you applying for grants? Grants, you can just build relationships or go to your local library and find this information, build yourself a grant calendar, or hire someone to do the research for you. Why are you paying for this software? So a lot of times organizations and companies have to audit themselves to realize, are they wasting money on systems that do not serve their bigger picture, that do not align with what they're doing? Because if you have systems that don't fit where you're trying to go or where you are, you're doing a disservice to your organization and wasting money. Okay, and I'm not about wasting money unless it's on a cute notebook, but that's neither here or there. So if all of this sounds like, but where do I even start? This is where I say you can get the system setup guide. The link is in the comment. It's going to lay out what type of dashboard you need, what you need to track in terms of KPI metrics, like you need to track those. And I can definitely explain what KPIs or key performance indicators are. Those are data that you need to capture for your program delivery and to share with your stakeholders, and also like document hub. So that's included in there as well. So I want you to think of it like your operations starter kit. Okay. So it has step-by-step guides for Monday.com, Airtable, and Asana. And this is how you can start getting organized today, even if your team is a little bit stretched thin. Okay. Now, if you have any questions about that or want to talk about it further, you can reach out to me in the DMs or just check the link in the comments because then it goes the page tells you what it's about or what you can get. And once you get it, if you have more questions, definitely reach out because I will answer your questions. Trust. Okay. So, like I said, I would try to keep this under an hour because we have quite a few things to talk about. So, part two of this, the other thing I wanted to discuss today, okay, is why growth without systems can be sometimes difficult for a lot of organizations and companies, right? So I am going to give you a few examples of what happens when an organization grows without operations being where it needs to be. So there's a youth nonprofit organization I know of that received $2.5 million in funding from the local government to expand a workforce development program. And within 6 months, their sites visits did not go so well, right? Their staff turnover was at about 50%. Nobody was staying there, right? It did not have, people did not feel like it was somewhere they wanted to be. And there was an audit conducted which flagged about a dozen compliance errors. So that's the other thing you need to pay attention to. Those are things you need to be ready to handle when you receive funding, or you're going to have issues like this. And one team member left, and no one knew how to access their files, right? So when somebody leaves, do you have a process or system in place to track the work they did or documents they saved for the organization or company? Like you need to know these things. So that organization could not figure that out. And my thing is from the outside looking in, like when people ask themselves why, my thing is because they scaled without structure. They wanted the money so bad to do the work because they felt like they had the heart for it and they just wanted to do it, but they had no onboarding process for the team. They had no way to track the projects that they were handling or delivering, right? They had no client management system, no clear accountability model, which is very important. Again, like a lot of these things I'm talking about are learned experiences also. That accountability aspect is very big when you're managing a team or when you have a team in an organization or a company. So this organization did not need more money yet, right? They may need more money, but they needed a system first so they can deliver this project or program that they were being dependent on delivering. The fact that they did not have that made them a big liability. Because one thing that's a bad look is for an organization to get money back because they can't do the work. I've seen that happen too. In what year was it? 2022. Because then the nonprofit I was working with at the time received a grant in Sacramento along with other organizations, and some of them couldn't do the work. They had to give the money back. Like, it's not a good look when you have to give the money back. Okay. So you have to think about what in your operations, what systems do you need to fix within the company or organization to be in a place to receive more funding? Because a lot of people don't think it's connected, but it's very much connected. When you can't handle certain things, it exacerbates certain issues that you already have. It makes it difficult for your company or organization to do the work that it's being paid to do. It's making it hard for you to even do things internally. Okay. So speaking of all of this, this is exactly why I created the VIP operations intensive, because oftentimes organizations think, oh, we need a retreat. We need to boost team morale. We need all of this. We need someone to come in, make sense of the mess. Yes, you may need a team retreat, but maybe you don't. maybe you just need someone to make sense of that mess. Yes, you got a plus on that one, and hand you a working system. And that's what I do in the VIP operations intensive, because how it works is that we meet for 90 minutes and align on your priorities. I go build the actual tools, systems, and workflows for your organization or company, and you get a fully customized system and video walkthrough to train your team on how to use it. So basically, it's a done for you in one day. Okay, so this is perfect for organizations and companies that are earning over $500,000. They have paid staff that are tired of wasting their time. So this costs $4,500 and it saves you way more than it saves you way more in time that in staff capacity and lost grant money, because what it will do is help you align your goals with what your organization is doing right now. Okay. And one thing about me, a lot of what I do is data driven and aligned with where I see things going. And there was an article, according to the Chronicle of Philanthropy, that was last month. 1 in 3 mid-sized nonprofits lost funding or failed to renew grants due to incomplete reporting, unclear deliverables, and poor program alignment. So that goes to show you that they already understand that operations and systems are a big issue for nonprofits, and companies like social impact enterprises have that issue as well. When you have incomplete reporting, unclear deliverables, and all these things happening, you have a big issue at hand. Okay, so all these point to, like, the only thing that it can point to, operations. Like I said, a lot of people don't think about operations as being important, but it is. Okay, it really is. It's not the mission, it's not the effort your team's putting in. Your team, like, and your board, they might not be lazy. You just have horrible, horrible systems and operations. Okay. And maybe you don't have the, like, it's not the community need that's the problem either. Your community might need it, but you don't have the infrastructure to deliver this program. Okay? Or you have broken internal systems. All of these things are important for you to understand before you try to go to the next step. Okay? So, 3 things you can do this week to help your company or organization move forward is, I want you to walk through one core process in your organization from intake to report. And I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. 3 questions, that's it. Now, the first question I want you to ask yourself is, what are the delays? Like, when you're in this whole process that you want to document, what are the delays happening here? So let's say the process is onboarding. It takes you like 3 weeks to onboard someone. What delays are there? Okay, I want you to think about it. Is it that the meeting with the CEO or executive director? What is it that's the delay here? Or is it the information that needs to be conveyed to them is coming from the executive director or CEO? So figure out what the delay is. The second question I want you to write down for this, when you're walking through this process, what's being duplicated in this whole thing? And what can be automated? The reason I want you to ask yourself what can be automated, sometimes reminders can be automated. Because then, oh, I have to keep reminding my team to do this. Yes, you can automate this. You can automate it. Because then, like the tools like Monday.com and stuff like that, you can set up automations. Like when you're close to the due date or whatever, you can set up triggers and logics for it to know when to send an email to a user, let's say a team member is a user, on what to do. So you can set up automations for a lot of the tasks that you're spending too much time on. So it's in your best interest to think about these things. So the first one, walk through one core process, 3 questions to ask: what are the delays, what's being duplicated, what can be automated. And the second thing I want you to do this week is to have your team do a how we work audit. Now, nobody ever thinks of doing that, but like, how do we work? Who's owning what? So when I say owning, who's responsible for what? And when there's ownership in the work that's being done, not multiple people cannot own the same thing. So let's say you have someone responsible for communicating with Rayleigh, Safeway, or whatever, calling managers, stakeholders. One person is responsible for calling Safeway. Maybe you have somebody else responsible for calling Rayleigh's. That's something else. But you cannot have multiple people owning the same thing. Okay. So the second question, where are we overlapping or dropping the ball? The reason I want you to ask this question, if multiple people are owning similar tasks, maybe balls are being dropped somewhere, or maybe someone is not owning something and it's being overlooked. Nobody's doing it right. So those are the things that I need you to start asking. Because if nobody's asking these questions, it's going to keep happening. And the last thing I want you to do this week, I want you to ask yourself, if we got 5 times more funding tomorrow, would we be ready? That's it. Would we be ready? You might say, what? Yes, we might be ready. We know exactly what we're going to buy. Did you even look and research where you're going to buy it? If you said we're going to hire more people, do you know how much work it takes to interview and hire like people that are qualified? Do you know how you're going to post a job? How much is going to cost? That you do that research. Because if you cannot answer that question of would we be ready, that's a sign for you that you need to fix your operations and system because you don't have what you need. Because your impact cannot outpace your infrastructure for too long. Just because your organization is impactful does not mean that your infrastructure should be garbage. Okay, you need to work on that so the work that you're doing can continue existing because the name of the game here is sustainability. And if you cannot have sustainability, then what's the point? Because your organization won't exist in a few years if you can't fix that. Okay. So I think that's it for me. I think that's all that I want to talk about operations and system. But one thing I'm gonna end with before we leave is that I feel like too many leaders in nonprofits or for profits, whatever it is, are trying to build their vision on hope, passion, and people pleasing. Like that's all. And passion without system is going to lead to burnout. That's one thing I want you to remember. Having vision is great, right? But without infrastructure, what it leads to is failure. Now, failure is an opportunity to learn, but if you are not learning that the vision without the infrastructure itself is going to lead to more issues, then that's an issue within itself. And growth can't happen without clarity. Everybody needs to be clear because when you don't have clarity and you're trying to grow, what's going to happen is the organization or company is going to collapse. It's going to end up dissolving itself, or you're not going to be able to do the work that you're trying to do. So, as leaders, you're going to have to stop reacting and start designing with intention what you're trying to accomplish with the organization and company. Because you may not need to hire 5 more people. You may not need to wait until next quarter. You don't need to keep figuring it out alone. You just need structure in your organization to do the work that you're trying to do. And that's my 2 cents on that. You need structure, a system, and you need support. Okay. So what I want you to do is drop the word systems in the comments. If this is something you want to hear more of, you're interested in any of the things I talked about in this live, and I'll reach out to you about either the setup guide or VIP operations intensive to see which one fits you best. And if you already know what you need, don't wait. Just click the link in the comments or bio and let's talk, or reach out in the DMs and let's talk, because no amount of community love is going to protect your organization or company from having a weak infrastructure. So the impact that you want is going to require the back end to support it. So that's it. That's all I got. I hope you have an amazing rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.